Hello, good to see you again. Wanted to just touch bases. Had a couple of thoughts that I thought I'd like to share. Where I am right now is in my office at our Alfa Romeo repair shop and our Scooter City repair shop. The Alpha shop is called Barber's Shop Alpha or Barber's Shop Automotive, and the motorcycle and scooter side of things is called Scooter City. We're located at 614 16th Street in Sacramento. The business was started by myself, Buzz Holsinger, and Kevin White, I think his name was, back in 1979. Anyway, we're over here now because we had a fire, a dumpster fire that caused us to have to leave our longtime location on 18th Street. But anyway, I wanted to talk to you about a conversation I had with my father when he was teaching me how to fly. Sorry, that's breakfast. Good coffee. I have good coffee. I use Pete's, but it's a little cold. Anyway, it's got to do with, to some extent, that picture you see in the background. That's our race car. We built that race car in, I think it was about 1982 or 81, and we campaigned that car for a good 10 years at least. The first driver of that car was a man named Dave Jolly, and he was the fellow that convinced us to build a race car. It went against all advice that my father gave me when he was being hammered by me to support a race team that did flat track racing, and I had something to do with them because I was dating the niece of the owner of that race team. He said, supporting a race team is not something that really actually helps your business unless you're full boat into that business. And being that they weren't, as an auto part supply and machine shop, he really hesitated to do that. We decided to go into racing our Alfa Romeo, which we built out of 3 different cars, because we figured it would raise the visibility of the name of our shop with the unique paint scheme and our name on the side amongst people who talk about cars. And by racing, we would raise the visibility of our name amongst the culture or population or community of engine people, car people. It did that, but I can't say that it brought us any direct work. It certainly raised the visibility of our name in a rapid way. And we learned a lot from it because we, in not only in building the car, but in maintaining the car for racing and so on. One thing we're very proud of about that car is that when we officially went racing on SCCA, our driver in competition, not our test driver, Dave Jolly, but our actual first behind the wheel, fender to fender competitor was a young woman whose last name was DeWitt. And she barely made it across the qualifications parameters, criteria, because I think she was 19 years old. She may have even been 18. But for the life of me, I cannot remember her first name. So if the DeWitt family ever watches this YouTube video, I'd like them to weigh in. We were very proud of the fact that we were the first team to ever run a woman behind the wheel in the SCCA racing. Now then, back to the theme of my story, which is speed. When I was learning to fly, my dad taught both my brother and I how to fly when we were about 10, 8 to 10, I don't remember what it was. He taught us how to do it in one of the planes that the Taft Aero Club or West Side Aero Club had purchased over the years. And the very first one that they had was an Aeronca Champion, a little probably 90 horsepower or 125 horsepower airplane. You didn't sit side by side with each other. It was a tandem seating thing. My dad rigged up 4x4 blocks to put on the rudder pedals so that I could reach them, and then I'd sit on a couple of pillows that got me up close enough to it. And of course you had a stick between your legs. And we would go out and we would practice takeoffs and landings at the Taft or West Side Taft, California airport. But we also did it out at a former Army Air Corps training base called Gardner Field. Well, there weren't any trees out in Gardner Field, and my interest in learning to fly was the fun of it. And my dad's interest in my learning to fly was how to do it right for safety. So I didn't realize it at the time. I was 10 years old. I wanted to have fun, and I wanted that sensation of speed. I wanted to have fun and have that sensation of speed. So one day, when we were out practicing takeoffs and landings, I said to him, "Dad, can't we fly closer to the ground? I like the idea of chasing jackrabbits and moving so close to the ground that I get that sensation of speed as the sagebrushes go by. There weren't trees around to gauge your speed." And he said, "Well, you know, safety is a pretty important thing. And when it comes to safety in an airplane, altitude is your friend." Now you'll notice he did not tell me that I was full of it and that was not good. He said instead, at some point in time when you really know how to fly, you can take that on. But for now, safety is our friend. And so let's go see if we can find a place where you can have that sensation of speed and still be safe. In other words, he knew of an option, meaning something that would require our agreement to go to. Well, I didn't. I was 10 years old or 8 years old. I didn't have much of a say in it. He was the teacher, right? So we took off, and we spiraled up and up and up and up as fast as that little Aeronca Champion would go. And eventually we crested over a small range of mountains that sit behind my hometown of Taft, called the Temblor, Temblor range. And I think they call it that because the San Andreas Fault runs right up the backside of that range, or the windward side, to us, the backward side. And you can actually see the results of the San Andreas Fault as it leaves a crack all the way up the east side of the Carrizo Plain. And my dad and I would use that crack because it's so straight. We would use it to help me practice making 90-degree turns in the airplane under various conditions. Well, we didn't go up there to do that, unbeknownst to me. What we did was we kept circling up until we were above the clouds. And what was fun, as I came to realize, was, guess what? My dad had come up with an option, an idea. Of course, he knew a hell of a lot more about what it looks like above clouds than under clouds, because he'd flown for the Marine Corps in World War II. Great pride to both my brother and I that he flew DC-3s, which the Navy called R-4D, and he flew also the Clippers, not Clipper ships, but the Catalinas, I think Catalinas, the PBY, for the Marine Corps, for the Navy, but he was in the Marines. So here we are on top of the clouds, and he said, okay, have at it, but don't crash. And I thought, what do you mean crash? I can't crash. We're way up above the clouds. And he says, no, pretend the clouds are the ground. And I don't want you to hit the clouds, but I want you to maneuver the airplane right inside of them and on top of them, so that you get the feeling and the learning curve that comes from handling the airplane without crashing. And it will also meet your interest. He didn't talk like this, but he says, as you notice, it will meet, or as I realized, it was going to meet my need for a sensation of speed, because we were going to be flying right next to clouds. And if my pretend could be the ground, but I had to maneuver that airplane. Let me tell you something. That was one of the most kinesthetic learning exercises that I can remember having over the years, was flying in and amongst those clouds without hitting them. And if I hit a cloud, we didn't crash. Thank you so much for being with me today. I appreciate it very much, and look forward to being with you again on another one of our visits on the YouTube channel.